Hi again. So one of the main things I want to talk about in this vlog was the Bradbury short stories. The first one that I want to talk about is The Sound of Rain, or The Long Rain, sorry. The Long Rain. It is obviously classified as a science fiction short story because it's like the people are on a different planet and there's like this constant rain, which is obviously unrealistic, but it still has elements of real life in it, which is really interesting how the author tied in those things. I remember the entire time that I was reading this short story, I really enjoyed it because it was like really engaging. That I was like, oh, like when are they going to find the sun dome, and like the fact that like there's this rain that's just like it's so much that their heads start hurting. So trying to visualize that was quite hard or quite difficult for me because, I mean, I'm sure it was difficult for everyone who lives on Earth. But one thing that I wanted to particularly point out in the Bradbury short story was just this idea of, they were looking for the sun dome at their entire journey, and then the first one they find is just like a complete, like, an utter disappointment, which I guess that kind of gives you a realistic element to the story, because it's like science fictions are kind of like, oh, like this would never happen in real life. And of course this particular situation would never happen in real life, but if we compare it to problems that we have in real life, I mean, everybody gets disappointed, and like trying to aim for something that we don't particularly get, just that idea is kind of convoluted in this short story. So that was cool how they put in that element. And then, but the second time they found the sun dome, which was the actual sun dome, it was kind of like, it evoked like a very like emotion of, I was like excited that they found the new sun dome. I was kind of able to relate to the characters, even though it was a science fiction short story. And just like, but the way they describe the sun dome, I mean, I can read you some. So it says, ahead of him upon a low table stood a silver pot of hot chocolate steaming in a cup full with a marshmallow in it. And besides that, on another tray stood thick sandwiches of rich chicken meat and fresh cut tomatoes and green onions. So this dichotomy between like the sun dome and, the outer world that they were living in is really huge, because it's like they're going through this entire journey of like trying to find the sun dome, and like there's rain, and like a few friends of theirs die on the way to the sun dome, so we can see how arduous of a journey this was. And this ending, like, kind of fantasy heaven-like feature at the end, it pretty much confirms that this is a science fiction, because something like this obviously wouldn't happen in real life. Something so like drastically better than the real life that they were in. But yeah, other than that, I pretty much hit all the points that I wanted to talk about. Overall, I was really engaged in the story, and it was really interesting to read because it was science fiction, and I really like science fiction. But I'm going to now vlog about the other short story.